we seem to be in the final days of Ben Chiarot's tenure as a Montreal Canadiens player. It is also entirely possible by the time you watch this episode, a trade could unfold where the defenseman could be gone to another team. So you can write in the comments all you want about how we were late on that. Or maybe he hasn't been traded at this point. Who knows? We will get into a conversation about how much the team might miss him if he's not in the lineup, and some other things with Ben Chiarot and Cole Caufield doing well as well. It's all here on Hockey Inside Out. I'm Julian McKenzie, alongside the usual suspects on Hockey Inside Out. Jessica Rusnak from CBC Daybreak is here. Rick Green, Stanley Cup champion Rick Green is here. Stu Cowan of the Montreal Gazette is also here. Somebody who I've seen a lot in the last few days in the Canadiens practice facility, the Bell Center, of course, tapping in for our good friend Arpin Basu, who's away for a bit of time dealing with his father who passed away. Just want to show some respects for that, of course. A good colleague of ours on the beat. But anyway, we have to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. We have to talk about Ben Chiarot. We have to talk about Cole Caufield, a whole bunch of different topics. I want to get to Cole Caufield first because the kid is looking really good. It gets to a point whenever he scores goals, Dominic Ducharme trends on Twitter and people call for him to be fired again. Not that we would laugh about someone getting fired again, but it just kind of goes to show how different Cole Caufield has been under Martin St. Louis compared to Dominic Ducharme. So, Jess, I'd like to start with you with this question. Through his last two games, where he scores twice against Arizona and then scores a wicked OT goal against the Philadelphia Flyers, what have been your takeaways from Cole Caufield's game over these last two games?
I think he's playing like the Cole Caufield that the Montreal Canadiens were hoping for when they drafted him a few years ago. We always saw this potential in him, at every other level leading up to the NHL. And the big question was, will a small guy be able to have this kind of success in the NHL when he's facing, a 220-pound, 6'3" guy on the opposition team? But he's being the difference maker. And the Canadiens need one of these players that you look down the bench and you say, okay, who's going to be the guy who's going to go out there and win this game for us? Who's going to lead the way? And that's what Cole Caufield has been able to do, scoring that goal in overtime against the Flyers, and then the game against Arizona, scoring 2 goals, 8 seconds apart, which was huge, trying to give his team momentum and give the crowd at the Bell Center something to cheer for. It was one of those games that it meant nothing with the two teams at the bottom of the standings, but it gave them, something to cheer about and some momentum for the team. They weren't able to go on and win that game, but I think it's great that he's playing up to his full potential after the year that he had, that some were questioning, is this another bust? Did the Canadiens pick the wrong guy? And he's showing, nope, they didn't. Things were just not working out for him. And now he's been able to find his game again.
Well, his 2 goals in 8 seconds against Arizona were one more than he had in 45 games with Dominic Ducharme, which is remarkable when you think about it. But I think Brendan Gallagher after the game nailed it when he said Caufield has his swagger back. He's having fun. There was a video on the Canadiens Twitter account of him dancing in the locker room before a game while getting his sticks ready, and he's having fun again. And he's not alone. I mean, the Canadiens weren't having much fun or any fun, excuse me, at the end of Dominic Ducharme's run as coach. So being put with Nick Suzuki and Josh Anderson on the line has also helped them. That's some good chemistry there, although Anderson was out with a lower body injury against Arizona. He's just having fun. He's shooting the puck. Marty St. Louis was asked after the Arizona game if there's a player that he played with that Caufield reminds him of at all, and he said a little bit of Steven Stamkos, just with the release on his shot, the way he can shoot the puck, or a young Steven Stamkos. So it's been all good with Caufield now. I mean, you think back, when he came back from COVID and that, and before Ducharme was fired, everybody thought he was going back to Laval. He had lost his confidence. He had lost his swagger. Then Marty St. Louis comes in. Caufield wore number 26 as a kid because Marty St. Louis was his favorite player. And the spark is there. And he's not the only guy. I mean, Marty St. Louis lit a spark under a lot of guys. But Cole Caufield, I mean, you just see the other night after the celebration after the goal, just how much fun he's having. And Paul Byron was talking about how much fun the guys are having watching him play. So it's, it'd be interesting to see how many more goals Caufield can score before the end of his season.
And it's so fun to see him smiling and, having such a great time, obviously that coming with success. And, here's a really nice kid and he's really well liked. And obviously when you see that what he's bringing to the game, I mean, I have never seen a kid that has turned his game around as quickly as he has from, all aspects of the game. He's skating and he's getting to the areas like a seasoned pro and a real natural. And he is really fun to watch. And I am really happy to see when he gets on the ice, and I kind of hold my breath. Okay, what's he going to bring now? Because he's exciting and he's a real good player. And imagine, what the future holds for him as he's starting to get some results with some real entertaining play and amazing shot and release. And wow, nothing but good things from this guy moving forward.
Yeah, Paul Byron said after the game against Arizona that when Caufield was sent down to Laval after 10 games when he still hadn't scored, he sent him a text message just telling, keep your head up, just keep working hard. And Byron also mentioned how Caufield was missing the net a lot earlier in the season, sometimes not by that much. We all remember that. And he said that gets into your head sometimes and starts screwing up. But now that shot, I still remember the first rookie camp after the Canadiens drafted Caufield, and we were in Brossard in the press box watching, and he came down the wing and he fired a shot, and everybody in the press box went, wow. Like the release and the goalie, I can't remember who the goalie was. It was one of the guys called up for training camp, but the goalie didn't even see it. It hit him off the shoulder, and all of us were like, wow. And we're seeing that shot now. I mean, the last few goals he scored, that quick release, able to pick the corner, goal scorers goals. And this is a guy who scored goals ever since he was 5 years old. And for whatever reason, he couldn't score anymore at the beginning of this season, but he's got that swagger back now, and the pucks are starting to go in the net.
If I'm a dentist, I would hire Cole Caufield to be, my spokesperson. Get a smile like Cole Caufield, the way that he's smiling all the time.
I like that. Stu, how close was that shot you had seen in rookie camp compared to the one he did in Philly the other night? Because I still can't believe how he wired that home. Great pass by Rem Pitlick to get it to him, but that was incredible just to watch. My jaw kind of dropped a little bit.
Very similar. I mean, in the 8 years or I've been on the Canadiens beat, I don't remember any time at a rookie camp everybody in the press box going, wow. It was like it was an elite NHL level shot at a rookie camp. So yeah, it's similar to that shot that you're mentioning there. It's just that quick release. And it's not always, the shot doesn't always have to be hard. I mean, the slap shot there in overtime was a blast, but sometimes it's just the quick release and the ability to pick a corner. It's not necessarily the hardest shot. It's just how quick he can get it off. And he has an ability to get the puck off quick, even if it's not perfectly set up. He can shoot it from behind him, in front of him a bit. Not a lot of guys in the NHL can do that. Austin Matthews is one of the best. He can shoot the puck from anywhere, it seems. But Cole Caufield, boy, what a pleasant surprise. And you wonder, you don't want to keep dumping on Dominic Ducharme, but you wonder how many goals this kid might have if Marty St. Louis had been coaching him from the beginning of the season.
And I think we have to understand this kid was feeling a lot of pressure to score goals from the get-go. Everybody had the hype of Calder Trophy possibility and, a guy that was going to score tons of goals, and, that wasn't happening for him, and he was feeling it. And, that's a bad situation to have when you're a so-called goal scorer. And that's another example why I always like to keep it to 1 or 2 per season, because then I would be able to achieve that each and every year, keeping my consistent play happening. But anyways, happy for Cole. Just a real joy to see this kid smiling and enjoying the game right now. And man, oh man, he's got a lot of people that are, jumping out of the seats going, oh, what's he bringing next? So great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to the Bell Center, you've seen it too, Julian, and also there's so many Caufield sweaters. So many people during that playoff run last year bought Caufield sweaters at number 22, and I guess they're hoping that if Jeff Petry's traded, he doesn't switch back to the 26 of Martin St. Louis, meaning they're going to have to go.
Well, more pressure on himself. I think, though, not to heap more pressure on him, but and I know there's like a little over a month left in the season. I think it's fair to say Caufield's going to hit 20 goals this year. He's already 11. He's already on a good pace. He's going to hit 20. He's going to score nine more goals. He'll get to 20. He'll get there. I feel very confident in that. I felt really confident that he was going to win the Calder Trophy at the beginning of the year. That didn't work out. But this is a different dude we're watching right now. He will get 9 more goals, or however many he needs to get to 20 to get to the 20-goal plateau. And that's going to look really impressive considering the fact in the first half of the year, he was not scoring at all. Any other non-Cole Caufield takeaways? Anyone want to talk about Samuel Montembeault, who did not have a good first period against the Arizona Coyotes? I think 4 goals on 7 shots, or any other player that stands out? Stu, what do you think?
Montembeault is showing why he's struggled to stay in the NHL. It's just he's inconsistent. And he's not the only goalie who has struggled to stay in the NHL because they're inconsistent. He was on a roll there. He started 5 games in a row. He was 5-2-1 in his previous 8 games with a .906 save percentage, I believe. His save percentage against Arizona was .429, I think. It was a tough night for him. But it's just that consistency. And, Martin St. Louis showed the faith he has in him by playing him in those back-to-back games last weekend. I was pretty sure Primo would get one of those starts, but he played them both, came right back with him against Arizona. And after the game against Arizona, Martin St. Louis was asking if maybe it's a case of fatigue with Montembeault. And, St. Louis, being the honest guy he's been since he's been coaching, said, I don't know. They talked to him and maybe find out maybe he was a little fatigued from playing so much. But it's that, being the key, number one goal in the NHL, you have to be consistent. And he's struggled with that. Caden Primo struggled with that. We've seen a lot of goalies throughout the NHL struggle with that consistency. It's hard to 3 goalies injured for the Canadiens. Price hasn't played all season, as we all know. Jake Allen out. And then I felt so bad for Hammond, who came in, the Hamburger, got a chance, played really well, won his first 3 games, and then he gets hurt. Yeah. So it's been, the goaltending situation has been a mess for the Canadiens all season. That's another game against Arizona with some better goaltending. They probably had a really good chance to win, but that's been a common story throughout this season for the Canadiens. And until, we figure out what's going on with Carey Price, it's going to remain a big question mark as to what this team does moving forward with the goaltending situation. Who is the goalie of the future? Montembeault or Primo, both of those guys have really had tough, inconsistent seasons this year. So who the goalie of the future might be if Carey Price is gone, it probably isn't with the organization right now.
And another example of if your goalie isn't your best player each and every night, you don't have a chance to win. And you can go, throughout the league and you can see what's happening in Vegas. You can see what's happening in Toronto. You can see even Ottawa, for that matter. They're having an awful time in the nets, and the results are obvious that they don't have a chance to win with that. But I got to give, even though they were outshot badly, I got to give Phoenix full marks for playing the type of game that they played. They did not look like a team.
Arizona, not Phoenix. Arizona. We got to correct ourselves here. Arizona.
Yeah, the Arizona group. I mean, they played like a team that was, in the playoff hunt, and discipline and work ethic, and they impressed me. I mean, that they had success on this road trip wasn't a fluke. So they did a good job. But the Canadiens, they struggled in some areas, but you really have to look at your goaltending as being very, very critical between win and losses at any time, and especially down the stretch now. You've got to have some real solid goaltending, and that wasn't the case, and we know what the results are.
And just with the team that they can't keep playing from behind, they did get lucky being able to come back against Philly and get the win in overtime. But, when you look at the game against Arizona being down 4-1 after the first period, this is not the kind of game plan that you want to have and put yourself in that kind of hole to begin with. Yeah, they weren't getting the goaltending that they were hoping for, but you can't just point all the fingers there on Samuel Montembeault. A lot of other people also had to be better and try and step up. And then it was great that Cole Caufield was able to go score those 2 quick goals. But then the momentum was not really able to be picked up after that. So I think for the Canadiens, it's that trend of learning that you got to be ready to go from the first period. Don't create such a hole. Don't make this difficult on yourself, especially when you're playing a team like Arizona. Now, the Canadiens are not a powerhouse, but they also weren't facing a powerhouse team either, but they allowed Arizona to look like one against them, which is something they can't do.
Yeah, Arizona's been on a bit of a roll recently, but, talk about the goaltending situation. I remember a couple of years ago talking with an NHL scout about the possibility of the Canadiens trading Carey Price back then, and he said, you got to be careful because you don't appreciate top-level goaltending until you don't have it anymore. And when you don't have it, it's hard to win. And you look at what's happening in Toronto now. The offensively talented team that can score lots of goals, but their goalies just keep letting in bad goals. So it's one of those things, as Rick said, you can't win if your goalie isn't your best player or one of your best players every night. And in Montreal, we've been spoiled for a long time with Carey Price being that guy. And just the way the Canadiens have fallen off this season shows you how much Carey Price covered up mistakes, especially during last year's playoff run. You go back to that game 6 against Toronto when they were outshot 13-2 in overtime while facing elimination, and they won. So Carey Price, it's one of those things. If Carey Price is healthy and the Canadiens are looking to trade him, you got to, okay, who's going to replace him? And as the scout told me, he says, when you don't have that elite level goaltending, and when you have had it, especially, and then you don't have it, then that's when you miss it.
And Arizona must be playing this hard so that they can attract some new fans to their 5,000 stadium arena.
You got to sell 5,000 tickets, Rick. That's a joke.
People are lined up to get a seat there. So, there's something behind the scenes.
If we're allowed to travel down there, Stu, are you excited to see that arena when it's completed and be with all the college students just, living it up at an Arizona Coyotes game?
Well, you know what? Their arena they're in now is one of the nicest arenas in the NHL. It's gorgeous. And the whole area around it is beautiful. It's right near where the Arizona Cardinals football stadium is, and they have a whole shopping area, outdoor sort of shopping plaza, restaurants, bars. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. But it's Arizona. It's I don't think as a 5,000 seat arena are they going to be able to fill that. With that big arena they're in now, they get 5,000 people. So Arizona is a beautiful, beautiful place to visit. It's gorgeous. I guess Gary Bettman likes going there also. That's why he doesn't want to lose the team.
And, you guys don't remember back in the day when Calgary was waiting for their rink to be built, we had to play in the Corral, which was basically an old barn. And I don't believe there was a large attendance there. All that was there was the smell of horse dung that was, was in the stands. But anyways, you know what? It's what it is. Just the new NHL, as they say.
Yeah, the new NHL, where we watch games in 5,000 or possibly less.
That arena wouldn't be big enough to be able to hold the Memorial Cup.
Not even. No.
It wouldn't meet the requirements.
Nope.
But Gary says Arizona's in good shape.
I guess Gary must like going to Arizona.
Shots at the Coyotes and the Leafs on this week's edition of Hockey Inside Out. Gotta love it, guys. Gotta love it. Okay, let's get to Ben Chiarot. And before we get into the question, I know I kind of mentioned it off top here, but it is possible by the time this video is out, he could be traded already. And I know it's happened so many times in the past where we'll do an episode and some news story comes out after, and then everyone else is just like, whoa, you guys are late. You guys missed out on this. It happens. It happens. So you know what? For this, I'm embracing it. It might have happened already. It's okay. It happens. I will not be at the mercy of time and the internet and people scolding us for being late. These things happen. And if, Ben Chiarot isn't traded by this point, then, okay. All right. We were on top of it. So, hey, these things happen. But I can't imagine what Ben Chiarot and other Montreal Canadiens players are feeling at this time at the possibility of one of their dear teammates being on the market ahead of next Monday's NHL trade deadline. Rick, I'd like to know your opinion on Ben Chiarot, the player, and how much of a loss him being traded away from the Canadiens would be.
Well, I think it's fair to say he's been their best defenseman to date. Playing over 30 or 26 minutes a game, he's been playing very, very well. And there's a guy that he's well liked. He's well respected both on and off the ice, and he's a quality person that they like to have in the dressing room. And hey, listen, it's life in the business, but it's just a matter of time before he moves on. Is that going to be a situation where he's going to have a deal in place for a long-term type contract, or is he going to really seriously consider in July that, hey, maybe Montreal is not a bad place to play? Do I want to come back and be part of that mix? Not sure about that one, but anyways, I think he's obviously going to be gone very shortly, and it's a question of how or what they do get back in return, and it's going to be it's going to happen real soon, obviously.
Yeah, it's a big hole that's going to be left on the Canadiens roster, but this is what you got to do when you're trying to build the team. to be a competitive team once again. You got to get rid of these players that other teams in the NHL look at and say, you know what, this is going to be a huge asset if we're able to get him going forward. On the ice, his physical presence as well, his ability to move bodies in front of the net. And the thing that I find the most interesting with him is when he first came here, he had trouble adjusting to the Montreal Canadiens. And some were kind of wondering, what is this Ben Chiarot guy all about? Was this a good deal? And then he was quickly able to adjust and be one of their most reliable players. So yeah, he definitely will be missed. But it's just the nature of the business. And it's just kind of like waiting for the news to drop. Let's just find out, where is he going to go? What are the Canadiens going to get back? Let's get the good stuff that we can talk about next week.
I don't know if I think a lot of Canadiens fans didn't fully appreciate what Ben Chiarot does during his time here, similar to with Philip Deneau. And I think similar to Deneau, I think they might appreciate him more after he's gone and realize the hole it leaves. We saw that against Arizona. Goal scored in front of the net with guys not being cleared out, which is one of Chiarot's strengths. His analytics, I'm not a big analytics guy, but apparently his analytics aren't great.
They're not great.
Which makes me think that Toronto Maple Leafs aren't going to get him, even though they could use him, because they're a team who base everything on
another shot at the Leafs. Look at this. But you can tell we're a Canadiens podcast with all the shots at the Leafs.
I don't know if there's an analytics stat that measures the fear of a player going into the corner when Ben Chiarot's going to ram you into the boards. He's a big, strong guy who is not fun to play against. Sort of like Rick Green was when he played. Not fun to play against. Physical, leaning on you, slamming you into the boards. He's a big, big, strong guy. And he showed last year in the playoffs. He led the Canadiens in ice time during the playoffs last season as part of those 4 Clydesdales, as Luke Richardson called them. He's a guy who's built for the playoffs. I don't care if his analytics stats aren't great in the regular season. You do not want to be on – when you're a forward and you get on the ice and you look up and you see Ben Chiarot, you're like, oh, no. Not fun to play against. The front net presence. So, the team who gets him, there's a possibility the Canadiens could trade him and then sign him in the summer as a free agent. When he first came to Canadiens, he talked about how much he loves playing in Canada. He wanted to play at the Bell Centre on Hockey Night in Canada. He got robbed of 2 years of playing in front of fans because of COVID. So maybe he wants to come back. Who knows? Or maybe the team that trades for him wants to make sure that he's going to sign a long-term deal there. But there's a possibility the team might just want him as a rental. So Ben Chiarot, during his time here, loved by his teammates, good guys, solid, honest hockey player. So I wish him the best wherever he goes. And I think whichever team picks him up is going to be lucky and he'll have an impact for them in the playoffs.
Any predictions on where Ben Chiarot goes? Anyone want to throw out a team?
Well, Calgary was interested. Apparently it was part of the Toffoli deal and that fell through. I imagine they're still interested. I don't think Sutter looks beyond analytics in his style of looking at the game, and Chiarot's a player who I think would be appealing to them. How much they're willing to give up for him, we'll see. But that's one team that would be at the top of the list for sure. But there's a lot of teams around the NHL that could use him.
And I think that we've heard some rumors about St. Louis also being interested. So,
and they value big, solid defensemen.
All speculation, but again, who's going to sweeten the pot good enough to pull the trigger? But he's like I said, he's a good quality guy. Down the road, obviously looking at getting younger a little bit. He's going to be 31 in the summer. You got some young kids coming up through the system. Gooley, Norlinder. You got some guys that they're hoping are going to make that transition sooner than later. So they're trying to free up some money in spots. So we'll see. See how it plays out.
Yeah, I was going to say probably St. Louis. He just kind of seems like a good fit with them, part of their DNA. I remember when the Canadiens were very small a few years ago and covering the St. Louis Blues morning skate and walking into that locker room being like, whoa, I'm not taller than all these players. So, that's why I feel like he's the kind of player that they definitely look for, the size that he has and his ability to play physical as well.
Yeah, back when we were allowed in the locker room, you see Ben Chiarot, like out of equipment, he's a big, muscular, strong guy. He reminds me, I've always said he's sort of like a linebacker playing hockey, the way he hits people, and he's really agile on his skates for a guy that big. He's a good skater. He's agile. He pivots well, has speed, and he has offense too. We've seen this season. He's can put the puck in the net when he gets an opportunity. He's got a big shot from the point. A lot of things to like about Ben Chiarot. And as I said, I think some fans who maybe didn't appreciate him as much as they should have when he was here will appreciate him more when he's gone and they see the hole that's left behind.
So Stu, if you're a GM and you need that defenseman for that playoff push, and you got that first round pick available, you're flipping it for him.
Well, that's what I think the Canadiens are going to get for him. I don't think, I think they're, Hughes is going to stick to his guns. And you look at David Savard last year they got a first round pick for him. The Columbus getting him out of town. So, I think Hughes is. I know the NHL is not happy about him being sat out. Gary Bettman doesn't like teams doing that. So that makes me think the trade will happen sooner rather than later. But Ken Hughes had said about a month or so ago after he traded Toffoli that I could trade Ben Chiarot tomorrow. I could trade him in 2 weeks. It depends on when I get the right offer. The fact they did sit him out makes me think that he has an offer that's pretty close to what he wants, and now it's just tinkering with minor details to complete it.
And Petrie might be in the mix here too, as far as guys possibly changing cities. So,
although the way Petrie played against Arizona, those first 2 goals, boy, he didn't help himself as far as making himself attractive.
He did get 2 assists after.
Yeah.
Jess, do you have any inside information you want to drop? Any other players who could be moving? I mean, Rick out here saying that Jeff Petrie might move. Do you have any other tidbits you want to drop?
Oh, I don't know. I thought they would be a lot more active. Today we're almost at, we're March 16th when we're filming the show. I thought for sure there was going to be a whole bunch of other players already on the move. I've been pretty surprised just how quiet the Canadiens have been. I thought when Toffoli was traded, it was kind of like, okay, here's the domino effect, and we'd be getting these press conferences almost every day about it. So I've been shocked by it that it's been like this. So I'm not sure exactly who's going to go and what Kent Hughes' plan is to rebuild this team.
Well, a lot of that has to do with the salary cap too, because the earlier you trade a guy, the more salary you have on your cap, right? So the later you can hold off, the less of a salary cap hit it is. So the salary cap is involved in everything in today's NHL, just the way Gary Bettman likes it. And that's another factor while teams might be waiting, because if you can save 3 or 4 games without having that guy on your lineup, that's money saved on the salary cap.
Shots at the Yotes, the Leafs, and Gary Bettman. That's when we are having a good show, because all 3 of those things have been mentioned and shots have been fired at. So again, with Ben Chiarot, as of now, as of when we're recording this, he has not been moved, but we all expect a deal to take place. And if you go back to some of the audio from the game against the Arizona Coyotes, some of those other players like Paul Byron and Brendan Gallagher also expect that to happen as well. So we'll have to wait to see how that unfolds. Or again, if you are watching this and he has already been traded, well, hey, we can only do what we can do. But anyway, for our final question for this week's edition of Hockey Inside Out, let's talk about Brendan Gallagher. A quick pop quiz for everybody. Anybody want to guess the amount of goals Brendan Gallagher has scored over the last 23 games?
1.
Anyone want to guess?
1.
Rick says 1. You are correct, sir. 1 goal, 5 points over his last 23 games, including 1 goal, which he scored against the Edmonton Oilers about almost 2 weeks ago at this point. What do you think is behind Brendan Gallagher struggling as much as he has all season? I have a guess, but I'd like to know your inside opinions.
I think it's just father time catching up with him, which is kind of crazy to say for a guy who's turning 30 in 2 months, but it's just the way that he plays. He's been playing hard since day one, and he's been in the league now for almost 10 years. And I remember when he first came in, people were saying, he's not going to last more than 2-3 years in this league by the way that he's playing. And a lot of people were concerned about it. And he kept showing that he can do what he has to do in order to keep his spot in the league. But I think now it is starting to become a little bit more difficult for him. He's someone that plays, extremely physical. We've seen him get hurt and come back and fight through that pain, especially when they had the bubble a few years ago in Toronto. And I think it's just his body. It's not healing the same way, and he's not able to create as much on the ice as well. So I think just for Brendan Gallagher, it's just a matter of getting a little bit older, not being as fast, not having the body recover the way from, bumps and bruises that it has in the past. And it's just become a little bit more difficult for him this season.
Well, I mentioned Philip Deneau earlier. Nobody misses Philip Deneau more than Brendan Gallagher. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, he started the season. Cole Caufield was on the number 1 line with Suzuki. Gallagher was on like the 3rd line. He's played with a bunch of different centers. Nobody near the talent of Philip Deneau. The injury thing is just mentioned. He's had hip and groin issues in the playoffs last year. It was a very, very short offseason, and Gallagher's a workout freak. He has mentioned he didn't have the time to do the offseason training he normally does to get ready for the season. It was obvious early in the year something was wrong. Like he just didn't have the jump in his skating stride that he's had in the past. With that contract, I'm pretty sure Kent Hughes will be trying to move him if he can. Be interesting to see if maybe LA's interested in him to reunite him with Philip Danault. But I'm not ready to give up totally on Brendan Gallagher yet. If they can't move him, the work efforts always there. They're going to have a long summer this year. He's going to have a lot of time to train, get his body healed up and rested, and be ready to go when next season starts. So I'm not ready to just say that he's done and there's too many miles in the body and he can't bounce back. I think there's a possibility he can. There's no guarantee, obviously, which is why if I was Kent Hughes, I'd be trying to move him if I could. But if he does come back with the Canadiens or wherever he is next season, I wouldn't be surprised to see Brendan Gallagher come back, maybe not be a 30-goal scorer again, but a 20-goal scorer again. And it would really be interesting to see if he did go to LA and ended up playing with Philip Danault again and see what he could do there.
Well, I think, Brendan's type of game that he plays and he has played for his whole career, we know the type of character he is. It's been really tough on him. And, ultimately, he's not as effective as what he was when he started out in his early years. And, he gets in the net, he works, we know what he brings, but unfortunately he seems to be missing a step in getting where he has to go to. And, with that type of contract that he has, I'm not sure, first of all, whether or not he's going to, bring the type of contribution to the group on the ice that you would like to have. And then you've got that burden of that big contract to carry for another 5 years. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle him. But I think we're all on the same page when it comes down to a quality guy that you like to have in your dressing room, but sometimes you have to move pieces to get exactly the type of group that you want in your room.
Yeah, and that last contract Gallagher had, he was underpaid, right, for scoring 30 goals, and now he was rewarded with that with this big contract he has now. But one thing I'll say about Brendan Gallagher, he earns every single dollar he gets. If he's not scoring, the work ethic is always there, never gives up. That can rub off on some of his teammates. So wherever Brendan Gallagher is moving forward, I wish him all the best. And I hope he can bounce back and become the player or close to the player he was previously.
He's playing hurt. I've felt that way about Brendan Gallagher all season. Like there are times in warm-ups where he just looks like he's wincing. He's hurt.
He will never ever say he's hurt either. I mean, I've been around Brendan for a long time, and every time you ask him, you go, "Yeah, I'm good. And even at the end of a season, when a lot of players will admit what their injuries were, he won't. Were you playing through injuries? No, I was good. I was okay. And he wasn't, but that's just the way he is. He'll never ever use injuries as an excuse or as a crutch, and I admire him for that.
And does he really want to be part of this rebuild or a regroup? This is curious at 30 years old. Does he maybe wants to win like sooner than later? And I think the conversations have probably been had with management, and it's going to be interesting to see how they handle him.
Yeah, and he's expressed that. He said how he plays to win, and he doesn't know how to play any other way. And the thought of going through a rebuild is not that appealing to him. But those comments were before Marty St. Louis came in, and I think Marty St. Louis changed the way a lot of guys look at this team moving forward and made them realize that maybe the rebuild, reset, whatever you want to call it, might not take as long as might have been anticipated. But with Brendan, you're right, Rick. I think maybe he would like a chance to go somewhere with a better chance of winning the Stanley Cup. And like I said, if I was Kent Hughes, I'd be trying to trade him now if I could. But if you don't, if they can't trade him, you know what you're going to get with Brendan Gallagher. You might not know how many goals, but you're going to get 100% effort every night.
Any other Canadians we expect to be gone by the deadline? So Ben Chiarot for sure, but just as a quick one before we wrap up here, any other quick predictions on who you think might be gone before Monday's deadline? Brett Kulak,
Armia.
Oh,
Do you think RB is gone? I know. There was a report out there that teams are interested. Oh, man.
Kulak's a guy that
I would pick him up and drive him to his new city.
Oh no!
I feel like something's going to happen with Shea Weber. That contract's going to be moved, and I think that's going to be something that's going to happen between now and then.
I think the Weber's contract, if it's moved, will be in the summer. But Kulak is going to be interested in him. Arturi Lehkonen, definitely a lot of interest in him. Although Kent Hughes had told Pierre LeBrun that unless it's a first-round pick, he's not trading Lehkonen. He's sort of brings the culture that they want moving forward. So Jeff Petrie is another guy that we'll see if they can move him. So it's gonna be interesting. It'll be a lot of fun between now and Monday.
Shout out Pierre LeBrun, who I'm sure will enjoy some wine and maybe some steak after the trade deadline passes. And I don't know how you guys cope or handle all the trade deadline stresses, but I'm gonna have me some water and maybe a coffee after this is all done. Who knows what I'll do.
Come on, Julian. Live life. Live life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Add some vodka to that water.
You mean about 4 jobs?
All I know is, Julian, we can't afford the wine that Pierre LeBrun likes to drink.
No. Considering whatever salary he's making between both the Athletic and TSN, we definitely cannot do that. That's going to do it for Hockey Inside Out this week. Our final show ahead of next week's NHL trade deadline. Let us know in the comments section what you think will happen ahead of next Monday. Also, feel free to shoot us some other questions that we might get to in a bonus episode of our great show, and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the Montreal Hockey Inside Out newsletter, montrealgazette.com/newsletters, and of course visit hockeyinsideout.com to check out full episodes and other great articles. Bye.